I'm here today at the Riverside National Cemetery in Riverside, California, to honor the life and memory of Officer Michael Daniel Crain. Officer Crain was shot and killed when he and his partner were ambushed. They were stopped at a red light at the intersection of Magnolia Avenue and Arlington Avenue in Riverside at 1:30 a.m. Officer Crain was working the night shift. Unbeknownst to them, someone completely blindsided them by opening fire on their patrol car, fatally wounding Officer Crain. Officer Crain's partner made it, fortunately. Officer Crain did not. They were ambushed by an ex-Los Angeles Police Department officer who was fired in 2008 and decided to turn rogue. They were killed by he was killed by Christopher Dorner, D-O-R-N-E-R. He was a cop with the LAPD who beginning on February 3rd, 2013, began to commit 4 murders targeting police officers. Christopher Dorner was fired in 2008 for making false statements in a report of his. He said that his trainee partner had unlawfully kicked a mentally ill man. His partner denied it. The whole thing went to internal affairs. Dorner was found to be guilty of making false statements in his report. I mean, there may well be truth to the statement, but the investigation by internal affairs in the LAPD found that they said it wasn't true. In October of 2011, Dorner appealed to the California Court of Appeal, and he lost. Now, from here on in, I am no longer going to be referring to Dorner by his real name. I'm going to call him the scoundrel, because what he did was so despicable and so satanic and so devilish, he doesn't deserve a name. The scoundrel was killed a few days after these murders, and he was cremated. So personally, I hope his ashes were thrown in the city dump somewhere and forgotten. That's how despicable this fellow is. He didn't like being fired, so instead of dealing with unforgiveness and bitterness the way anyone else should be dealing with it, he decided to go on a one-man killing spree and a one-man vendetta spree against the police. Folks, this is what unforgiveness does. This is what bitterness does. Someone once said that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting others to die. It's a lot worse than that. Unforgiveness, what it does is it injures innocent people that had nothing to do with the original offense. So what he did, a year and 4 months later, after losing the appeal, he went on his vendetta spree. He sent a list of his complaints to Anderson Cooper of CNN. He wanted this whole thing to go nationwide and international, which it did. I'm going to be putting a link to a 45-minute video in the description which explains the backstory to Officer Crain's murder in more detail. So after sending a list of his complaints to Anderson Cooper, and after posting a manifesto on Facebook on February 3rd, 2013, he murdered Monica Kwan and her fiancé Steve Lawrence in Irvine. Now, I live in the city of Irvine, so personally to me that was kind of creepy and scary. He murdered them in a parking garage. Monica Kwan was the daughter of police officer Detective Kwan, who, get this, Detective Kwan defended the scoundrel during his trial and his appeal. So Detective Kwan was on the side of of the scoundrel. He was on his side. And the scoundrel takes revenge against Detective Kwan by murdering his daughter. That's what unforgiveness does. It makes you act in very irrational and unpredictable and reckless ways. Then on February 7th, he murdered Officer Michael Crain. The scoundrel was eventually cornered by law enforcement in a cabin in the San Bernardino Mountains. A man and a woman who he held captive and tied them up, they were able to escape, and they tipped off law enforcement about where he was, and law enforcement surrounded the cabin where the scoundrel was, and he died. More detail on that in the link that I'm going to post to the video. But Officer Crain, his grave is right here. Let's go look at his grave. Officer Crain was only 34 years old when he died. He left behind him a grieving wife, his wife Regina, and their 2 young children. He served with the Riverside Police Department for 11 years before the scoundrel decided to play God and take his life. And he took his life for no good reason other than the fact that Michael Crain was wearing a police uniform. Officer Crain was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. He had served in Kuwait, in the Persian Gulf. He was deployed twice to Kuwait as a rifleman in the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. He was a very loving husband. He loved attending dance recitals with his daughter, and he coached his son's baseball team. Even though baseball wasn't an interest of his, he loved his kids so much he decided to coach his son's baseball team. Spent his spare time restoring a classic 1970 Chevy Nova, which he loved. This man's a truly great hero. I'm going to put a stone by his grave in his honor. Stone says dignity, honor. It takes a lot of courage and self-sacrifice and honor to take on a high-risk job like soldier or police officer. You have to be brave. I don't consider myself a brave guy. I wouldn't say I'm brave. I don't think I've ever done a brave thing in my whole life. I'm a nice guy. But to be brave and truly self-sacrificing is a whole nother level. Thank you, Officer Michael Crain, for your service to our country and for your service to Riverside and for being such a kind, loving father, husband, son, brother. Truly, you are one of America's heroes. Again, I'm putting a link to the backstory behind Officer Crain's murder in the description below. It's 45 minutes. You may want to watch it if you're not familiar with the story, but it was a high-profile case, and it was a high-profile story at its time. My condolences to his wife Regina and their beautiful family in case they see this video.